Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Last time around we had The Requiem Quietly Plays Part 2, where basically the gang was still dealing with the fact that all of their souls have been swapped in their bodies, and but they also figured out that Bucciarati is in Diavolo's body, while Doppio is in Bucciarati's body, so the question remains, where is Diavolo? And then on top of that, they were working to get the arrow back from Chariot Requiem, and Polnareff was able to grab the arrow because there was no stand to fight against him, which I'm going to have to admit to being a bit of a dunce last episode, and you guys have probably already left your comments about it, but at the time of recording this, I haven't seen it, I was thinking, well, the turtle had a stand, but if the turtle had a stand, it would be with the turtle's soul, which would be in Polnareff's body, which means it would be dead. And then, obviously, Polnareff didn't have a stand that would fight him, because his stand is Chariot Requiem. Now, granted, Chariot's coming at him. He's coming at him like a bat out of hell, but yeah, that is what allowed him to pick up the arrow. So, yeah. So, bit of a stupid move on my part, but that's alright. Anywho. But yeah, that's pretty much where we left off. So, like always... Oh, and Narancia's dead. I guess I should mention that too. Narancia is dead. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Here we go. Okay, man, I don't know, like, half the shit that happened in this episode. All I know is Diavolo is close to Arrow, therefore bad. There we go. It's one of those things with JoJo where JoJo fights are like a double-edged sword. Because on the one hand, they're some of the most clever, interesting fights I've seen. On the other hand, sometimes they just don't make any fucking sense. Giorno used his blood on the arrow to turn it into termites so that it would break and get away from Diavolo. Alright, I get that. I don't know what the fuck Trish did, you know? It's like, oh, I turned the bullets into chewing gum, and then they bounce, and then they bounce, and then they bounce, and then they bounce, and then they hit you, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? I don't know. Chariot Requiem's gone, I guess. I guess that's it for Chariot Requiem. That sucks. And I assume that also just means that's it for Silver Chariot. Like, it's gone. Somehow, even though Giorno lost both of his hands, he was able to make new ones, like, really quickly. I guess, did he say it was because... Like, because I guess there was the blood that was on the arrow itself, right? Which is what became the termites. So did he use the blood that was on his severed hands, like the dried blood on his severed hands, to form new hands? I don't know. There's something about shadows that the shadows always appear away from Requiem. Therefore, Requiem is just a shadow, and if you defeat the light source that's behind your head, then Requiem explodes. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Man, there was a lot of bullshit in this episode, I have to say. Like, it wasn't bad. It was just like, it was like, again, it was a whirlwind tour of bullshit that just happened, you know? And I'm just not entirely sure what we did, you know, what was accomplished. I guess it makes sense that two souls can inhabit one body, because that was Diavolo to begin with, you know? Diavolo was two souls in one body. One was Diavolo, one was Doppio. So, Diavolo and Trish were both inside of Mista's body. And they could fight each other because Trish has a distinct stand, unlike Doppio. Doppio's just dead. He got into a non-living, very wounded Bucciarati body and was just like, nope, sparklies, I'm out. And though it was kind of sad because I liked Doppio. Like, he was fun. He was goofy. I liked him, you know? His fight with Risotto was really fun, you know? I will say, I get the feeling that the rest of this story, because this is episode 36, we got 3 episodes left. I feel like the rest of this is going to be like, we're all going to be staying within these bodies, which that must just be the reason why Narancia died, was to give Giorno his body back for the final battle, you know? But it kind of sucks that Bucciarati doesn't have his body, you know? Because it's Bucciarati, you know? And it's weird that Diavolo doesn't have his body. Like, we spent all this time, like, building up, you know, who is Diavolo, and then at the end, it's just, you got a new body. It's like, oh, okay. So, okay, this also doesn't make any sense. Chariot Requiem was given the power to mutate bodies to have these weird other mutations about them. My first question is, why? Because with Chariot Requiem gone, I'm assuming those mutations are going to either disappear or they're just not going to continue. And if that's the power of the arrow, does Diavolo even want it? Also, okay, this arrow is kind of shit, by the way. So I'm assuming that if we got King Crimson Requiem, like, would it still be alive? Like, would it go against him? I guess not. I guess Polnareff said that the reason Chariot went against him is, it's basically that Polnareff was no longer strong enough to control Chariot Requiem. So presumably, Diavolo, if he attained King Crimson Requiem, would have the power to control it. But what the fuck would he do with it anyway? Like, this is a mafia boss, by the way. Like, does he have plans for world domination? I don't know. Is that it? Is that literally, like, everything? This may be a short discussion, folks, because I don't really know what else to say about this episode. It was a lot to take in. Like, we go through this whole thing, like, like, Trish's body might be inhabited by Mista and Diavolo, only to realize, no, it was Mista's body. That's where Diavolo was hiding. I mean, I feel like they should have just immediately ruled out Bucciarati because, well, he had to swap with somebody, so he wouldn't have been in his own body, you know? With every passing season, it just gets a bit more complicated. That, like, alright, season, part 3, stands. Alright, cool. Part 4, the arrow. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of weird, but I guess we can go with that. Part 5, more arrow, and now Requiem arrow. But Requiem doesn't make a goddamn sense. Man, I hope we're done with that next part. This is like the one thing where I'm like, man, I'm kind of tired of these stupid arrows. And I mean, I guess it's sort of the same thing in part 4 and part 5, that, hey, we start off with the arrow, but then we just kind of forget about the arrow for a while. I mean, I know Kira's dad was using it, but nobody cared about him. I didn't even think Kira cared. You know, it's like, I'm making this whole army for my son. Dude, he doesn't give 2 fucks. And then you didn't anyway, so, but you kind of forget about it, and then it's like, at the end, it's like, oh, the arrow pierced Kira again, giving him bites the dust. And now, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I guess we haven't gotten King Crimson Requiem, but it's kind of the same thing of, well, it's kind of the same thing of, hey, there was the arrow at the beginning, Pulpo had the arrow, and now at the end, suddenly there's this new arrow with new powers that make less sense. At least with, like, the arrow, I guess the arrow itself is pretty simple. You get stabbed, you'll either die or you'll get a friggin' punch ghost. That's it. That's literally what the arrow does, And then, but this one, it's like, yes, the Requiem arrow, it evolves your stand, and then it becomes its own life form, and if you can't control it, it will go of its own accord, and it has its own will, and it will start to mutate people into these strange, creature-like things, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And the whole thing, because, see, the thing is, like, Polnareff was saying, like, well, if push comes to shove, and he can't use it on Diavolo, he has to just destroy it, because he can't let that power fall into his hands. I just don't fucking get it. And the other thing? I don't need King Crimson Requiem, because it's gonna make less sense than it already does. And then, he punched Mista's body. Well, he punched Spicy Lady, which punched Mista's body, which flung them over towards the arrow so that Diavolo could get it. Man, I don't know what's going on anymore. He's about to get the arrow. That's all I take away from this episode, because otherwise, man, there was a lot of shit that made no sense. And it's JoJo, It's JoJo. I can accept a lot of things, which may sound funny because I haven't, Like, look, I can accept some things are just stupid in this show, but man, half the stuff in this episode, I don't know what happened, so I don't know. I have no idea. The big takeaway is, I mean, that arrow is headed between Diavolo and Giorno, so I'm presuming we're getting a Golden Wind Requiem, and it's that power that's going to defeat King Crimson. I guess. The fuck is that going to look like? Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for this episode, because this was a lot of stuff really quickly that just didn't make any sense. So, we'll come back next week. With that said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reactions, there is a playlist on screen, as well as another video you can check out if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.